The 2024 Olympic Games just got that much more exciting, and it's because the Kenyan Athletics Federation has just announced that Eliud Kipchoge has officially been selected for this year's Olympic marathon. Now, I figured that this would happen, but since his last race that took place in Tokyo, there has been a lot of talk that Kipchoge might not actually be selected. Now, the reason that this was the case is because Kipchoge finished in 10th place in this year's Tokyo Marathon, only finishing in 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 50 seconds. And even though this is still a very impressive time, there were many people that usually would not take down Kipchoge who managed to finish in front of him. Now, along with Kipchoge, Kenya has selected Benson Kipruto and Alexander Mutiso. And even though Evans Chebet objectively deserved a spot in this year's Olympic Games, I think that these are two extremely worthy athletes to run for the country of Kenya. Now, Benson Kipruto clearly earned his place, as he did win this year's Tokyo Marathon in 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 16 seconds, which is pretty crazy because that is more than 4.5 minutes faster than what Kipchoge ran on that day. And the other athlete representing Kenya is Alexander Mutiso, who just won this year's London Marathon in another quick clocking of 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 1 second. Kenya is obviously a distance running powerhouse, and I think that translates even more over to the marathon distance. But what exactly should we expect from the 39-year-old Eliud Kipchoge in this year's Olympic Games? Now, it has been an uphill battle for the past couple of seasons for Kipchoge. This year's Tokyo Marathon was obviously a prime example, but it was also in last year's Boston Marathon, where we saw Kipchoge struggle with a 6th place finish of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 23 seconds. However, we should also remember that in last year's Berlin Marathon, he ran another sub-203 in 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 42 seconds. Honestly, Kipchoge is still near the very top of the world when it comes to the marathon, because even on his bad days, he is still managing top 10 finishes in global marathon majors, which is certainly no easy task. But when it comes to the Olympic Games, Kipchoge has unbelievable experience, and this doesn't just go back to the marathon, it goes back to the 5,000 meters. All the way back in the 2004 Athens Olympics, Kipchoge finished in 3rd place behind Kenenisa Bekele and Hisham El Guerrouj. After this Olympic Games, he ran the 5,000 once again in Beijing, China in 2008, only finishing behind Kenenisa Bekele. And then in 2012, that was really the transition year for Kipchoge, where he didn't make the Olympic Games because the 5,000 meters was very competitive in Kenya and he hadn't quite made the shift over to the marathon. However, after 2012, he won the Olympic Games in 2016 and in the Tokyo Games in 2021. Since the birth of the Olympics, only 2 other athletes have ever won back-to-back marathon Olympic titles, and these 2 athletes are Abibi Bekele from Ethiopia and Waldemar Cierpinski from the German Democratic Republic in 1976 and in 1980. If Kipchoge can pull out this marathon gold, this will be one of the all-time greatest moments in sports. But this will be a massive challenge, because not only are his 2 countrymen, Mutiso and Kipruto, extraordinarily fast, but there is just a consistent rise in marathon talent around the world. And there is one particular athlete that I hope beyond any measure makes this year's Olympic Games, and that athlete is Kenenisa Bekele from Ethiopia. Now, we've been talking about the potential showdown between Bekele and Kipchoge for the past couple of years, but for one reason or another, it just has not happened. And if you remember from just a few minutes ago, Bekele was competing against Kipchoge all the way back in 2004, and they finished within a second of each other in the Olympic finals. How poetic would it be to have both Bekele and Kipchoge competing in this year's Olympic Games some 20 years after their first Olympic appearance together? It would just be the perfect ending to 2 unbelievable racing careers, and even though they might go on to run for the next couple of years over various races, it seems pretty doubtful that they will continue to run in any Olympics after this year, so this is likely the last Olympic showdown between these 2 potentially. Kipchoge has already made the Olympic team. Now all we need is for Bekele to make it as well for Ethiopia. And given that he just finished in 2nd place in the London Marathon, and also given that he ran very well in last year's Valencia Marathon, again finishing in the low 2 hour and 4 minute area, I think Bekele very much should make this year's Olympic team. And we could finally see Eliud Kipchoge versus Kenenisa Bekele in the biggest stage in the world. Thanks for watching, everyone. And as always, until next time.